I certainly want you to channel Abraham. But before you do that, for everybody who's listening right now, you're going, what? Sounding weird to me, Oprah. Very weird, Ola. I wanted you to tell people how absolutely normal you used to be.
You know what's really funny is
you used to be so normal.
We think we're normal now. In fact, Jerry was laughing about this morning, that somebody was talking about the weirdness of this, and it doesn't seem weird to us because we've been doing it for so long. It's hard for me to remember what life was like before I had this connection with Abraham.
And how did the connection start?
Jerry had been looking for ways to uplift people long before he even met me. Mm-hmm. So he really had that going on with him. And someone...
Uplift, like motivational speaking?
Jerry was never a motivator. He was more an inspirer in that he always looked for strengths in people and then reflected it back to them.
Okay.
So he found a book in a library one day written by Jane Roberts.
Is this the Seth book?
Seth book.
Yeah, I read all the Seth books.
And so Jerry's reading the Seth books, and I was afraid of them. They just seemed weird to me.
Yeah.
And so he read them in his private time, and
that is so interesting you say that, because I used to read them. I was reading them back in the late 80s, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And then one time I just started to get weirded out by them, and I removed them from my shelf because I didn't want Seth speaking to me when I got up in the middle of the night to pee.
Well, I don't know. I think what made me feel strange about it, there was a very odd-looking picture on the back of the book.
Yes.
And it just kind of, and so Jerry was wise.
Yeah.
Jerry was wise enough not to push it at me. He just read them and enjoyed them, and then every now and again he'd say something to me from one of them, and I would say, well, that makes sense to me, until in time I became more interested in the message and not so freaked out by the way the message came. And so then we decided that we were going to try to find these people and meet with them, because now we were brimming with questions.
Yeah.
And so we were going to meet them, and then like days after we'd made the decision, we were going to try to find Jane and Rob so that we could meet Seth.
They're the people who channeled Seth.
Right.
Okay.
They never use that word, though. I don't even like that word because it means so many different things. But anyway,
and it makes us think you're weird.
It does do that.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But anyway, so we were in a little sandwich shop next to a bookstore, and a person said to us, just out of the blue, "Have you read any of the Seth material?" Which was odd because we had not told a soul that.
So you're just standing in a shop, and then somebody else says
we were
that.
Eating a sandwich, and this man just said that to us, and we said, "Yes, as a matter of fact, we have been." And he said, "Did you know Jane Roberts is dead?" Well, that was shocking to me and upsetting. I hadn't heard it, and I felt like somebody had told me that my sister was dead, and I didn't know it. It had that kind of an impact. But then we thought, well, no point in trying to find them because now we can't meet Seth. And so within days, good friends and business partners in Phoenix came to us, and they said, "We've got a tape we want you to hear." And we said, they were acting weird. And I said, "What is it?" And they said, "Well, it's channeled." Well, we didn't know what channeled meant. We said, "What's that?" And they...
Because what were you doing in your life? Because, I just am trying to establish this, because were you the kind of couple that you're hanging out with other couples where they're going to channelers?
No, nothing like that. No, Jerry was already financially successful, so to tell you the truth, mostly what we were doing is finding a good place to eat every day and shopping. I mean, that was sort of the way our life mostly was.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
We're a lot busier now.
What does that feel like? Just to be able to...
it's a distant memory for me, too.
Really?
But anyway, so they gave us this recording, and we listened to it, and it was another woman who was speaking for another, Theo.
So are you saying that these things are just happening? Unfolding, yeah.
It's just like law of attraction does. Once you get on a wavelength, then other things like that come to you. So
I absolutely get that, and I know people are listening right now, and you've seen... just the other day, I was thinking about something. I walk into my office, I open the door, and that's what everybody in the room was talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, I see that.
So we visited with Theo. I wasn't sure I wanted to go. It was a beautiful home, no weird stuff going on. Theo relaxed, changed her consciousness as the way she spoke it, and Theo began speaking to us.
You weren't weirded out?
I was prepared to be weirded out.
Okay.
And expected to be. But the feeling of it was the most loving experience that I had ever experienced.
And you believed it immediately?
I didn't know what it was, but I believed it was good.
I'm talking to Esther Hicks, who, along with her husband, Jerry Hicks, they're author of a book that's now on the bestsellers list called The Law of Attraction. It is really, if I may say, the secret behind the secret, because they talk about law of attraction in depth. And Rhonda Burns went to them when she was preparing The Secret. So continue. I'm just trying to find out how Esther came to be Esther, who's channeling. That's a word I use because it's the most...
It's all right. Most people do.
Okay. Channeling Abraham, which he's agreed to do for us on next week's show. But go ahead.
So Jerry has all of these questions that he's asking. He has a lifetime of questions saved up for Theo, and I didn't say a word. I just sat in amazement as I listened to the dialogue back and forth. And then I said, I want to go back tomorrow because now I have questions. So we made another appointment. We went back the next day, and I said, what can we do to more effectively achieve our goals? And Theo said, meditate and affirmations, and gave us a wonderful affirmation. And when she said meditate, we were both put off by it because that just seemed weird to us. I thought of people lying on beds of nails or walking on hot coals, or people standing at the airport, standing on one foot with their hand out. And so I said, what do you mean meditate? And Theo said, sit in a quiet room and wear comfortable clothing and focus on your breathing. And when your mind wanders, and it will, just focus back on your breathing again. Then the tape recorder clicked off. My time is up, and there was a girl in the room. Her name was Stevie. I'll never forget her. And she said, well, do you have one last question? Because she could see I was a little frustrated that my time was up. And she said, do you want to know who your spiritual guide is? Well, I would have never asked that because I had never heard that term. But
what year was this?
This was 1984.
Okay, yeah.
So I said, yeah, sounded good. Who is my spiritual guide? And Theo hesitated. I thought, oh, no, this is bad news. I thought maybe my spiritual guide was someone bad, but she hesitated, and then she said, we are told it will be given to you directly. You will have a clairaudient experience, and you will know.
A clairaudient experience.
I didn't know what that meant.
Okay. So do we all have spiritual guides?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Do you believe that some have more than others?
No. I believe that we all are extensions of source energy, and we all have equal access to this wonderful energy. Yeah. It's just a matter of getting into the place where you can hear it.
Do you have 1 or 2 or 3 or 10?
When I first was thinking of Abraham, I thought of them as like an individual. In fact,
you call Abraham as many entities.
They refer to themselves as we. They say they're a collective consciousness.
Now, you must admit that this sounds strange to people.
It has to. I know how I felt about it. I know how I felt about it in the beginning, and I have to say, if it hadn't happened to me, I can't say that because I was listening to Jerry read Seth to me, and I was captivated by what I heard from Theo, and Stevie, who was in the room, said it looked as if my heart opened. I mean, so who knows? You can't say what would have been, but...
Okay. And so when you first started channeling Abraham, you go into meditation, and
what happened? So we went home, put on our bathrobes, sat in a quiet room, pulled the drapes, sat in wingback chairs with an etagere between us because it was frankly just too weird to do it together. And I just focused on my breathing. We set a timer for 15 minutes, and right away I felt numb, detached, and it was an incredible sensation. So the timer went off, and I said, let's do it again. So we set the timer again, and again I just breathed, focused on my breathing, and I couldn't tell my nose from my foot. Now I'm excited about whatever this is because of the feeling of it. And about
because now you're just meditating, but you love the feeling so much.
I love the feeling of it.
And it's because it's better than shopping. Yeah. You've just been shopping and eating, so you're thinking, now I'll just meditate.
I didn't know what I was reaching for. What was in my mind is, I'm going to meditate every day for 15 minutes, whatever that means, and I'm going to find out the name of my spiritual guide. That was really what was in my mind.
Okay, got that.
And so right at the end of that, what is now about 45 minutes of meditation, something breathed me. It was the most incredible air drawing in, air pushing out. I felt like I was a billows that someone was breathing, and it was the most loving, incredible feeling of well-being that I had ever experienced in my life, and I wanted more of it.
Something breathed you.
Something breathed me. That's the only... I know now it was my first interaction with Abraham, but... So we meditated...
And did he say, I am Abraham?
No, it's just because I couldn't have heard that. We meditated for about 9 months, and nothing happened except I got numb every day, and I liked the sensation of it. And then it gets weirder. One day, while we were meditating, my head just started sort of moving gently, and I loved it. It felt like flying. And the next day, the same thing. And about the next day, while my head was moving, I realized it wasn't just randomly moving. It was actually like spelling letters, like my nose was writing on a chalkboard. And I realized they were going through the alphabet. And I was on M, N, O. And I said to Jerry, I'm spelling the alphabet with my nose. And Jerry got a notebook.
What did you think was going on?
Well, see, when it's happening, it feels wonderful and it feels normal. It's Jerry is the one that had to be wondering what was going on.
Yeah, because I would have called the doctor.
We might have if we hadn't experienced Theo. We might have if we hadn't been reading all of this wonderful information from Seth.
Okay.
So now we've got the combination of intellectually understanding that we've connected to something, and we have no way of knowing what it is. I couldn't tell you. I only knew that it felt so good.
And you wanted more of it.
And I wanted more.
Okay, so you start spelling with your nose.
For about 2 months. It was awkward and awful. Jerry woke me up in the middle of the night and propped me up in bed and would ask a question, and off we'd go. It was bizarre and tiring.
Bizarre and tiring. Now, when you say that you channel Abraham, and if it's not called channeling, what do you call it?
Well, it's what inspiration is.
Okay.
It's what the basketball player is doing. You know, he's trained his body to